Modifying your workout program can propel your gains forward. Failing to modify can cause plateaus or worse, injury. We're going to talk about the ways to modify your program for maximum gains and when and why you should do this.
That was a great idea.
Let's go. Another one from Adam.
Another one from Racking them up.
On a roll, dude.
Two in a row. Wow, your dancing got better too. I think so. All right, I'll start with the first one, and then we can kind of break down a little bit what modifications mean. One of the more common reasons why you would want to modify your program is because you feel overtrained. You feel a little burnt out, fatigued, noticing sleep issues, a little excessive soreness. You just feel like you're overdoing it. This is a very important time to modify your routine. And the best ways to modify your routine in order, I think, although we can debate and discuss what we think, would be kind of lower intensity first, then cut volume down, and then add more rest days. Although I do feel that this order can be switched around.
100% can be switched around. I think that's good general advice, but the truth is you would make that decision based off of a couple qualifiers. You would ask somebody, are you the type of person who trains to failure all the time?
Yeah.
Or are you the person who's doing double days? Like, so if you're like a train to failure all the time, I'm going to back off intensity. If you are doing double days and supersetting everything, volume.
Kitchen sink.
I'm going to reduce volume. So it really depends on, or if you're the guy who never takes a day off, you train 7 days a week, I'm going to do a rest day. So it really depends on that. I think what you said is good general advice, kind of go down but if you know that you're one of those three, that's how I would probably.
So let's speak personal experience. So for me, whenever I start to feel a little burnt out, I don't typically change anything except for lower intensity. And I just go in at 50% intensity. I get a little bit of a pump, and I do that for a week or two, and that typically brings me back on track. Part of the reason why I go with intensity, not the others, because I just enjoy being in the gym.
Yeah.
So like not going to the gym, that sucks for me. So I prefer to just go much easier, and it's worked out well for me. Typically.
Yeah, it depends on what I'm doing and what my goal is at the time. Obviously, like for what I was doing recently and trying to press myself with intensity, lowering the intensity wasn't an option for me. So I definitely lowered the volume, which made a big difference. And then later, even dropped another day. So I had another day of rest. But I think shifting that order definitely depends on what what you're leading up towards.
I think that the tough part with this is a lot of people don't realize that they're here. They don't realize that they're overtrained. I think if you are feeling it and noticing it,
you've been there.
Yeah, you've
for a little while now.
You've probably been there for a while, because I think most people, especially people that are into fitness, right? They enjoy doing this. It's been a part of their life for some time. Tend to think that the soreness and the plateaus and it's just part of the process.
Or worse, they add intensity volume.
Yes,
and
right.
cut rest
Because
days.
they're not seeing the results they want, so they think, oh, I need more.
Harder.
And that's probably what's more likely. This person probably needed to reduce intensity or volume the previous time, but they felt the plateau, or they felt not seeing progress and decided, oh, let me add more, when they probably should have backed off before. And then now your body's really screaming at you.
Yeah, 100%. So the first sign that I see for me when I know I'm overtraining, if I'm smart, if I'm being self-aware, not getting carried away, because I can have that relationship with exercise where I don't pay attention, I just keep going. But if I'm being smart, the very first sign that shows up for me is sleep disturbance. Before the fatigue in my muscles, before the excessive soreness, before I notice that I'm just not able to push as hard or whatever, it's usually what it looks like for me is I'll wake up once or twice in the middle of the night. I'm a little restless. When that starts to happen, if I keep going, then I get the other signs. If I pay attention to that, for me, cutting down the intensity usually does a trick. And how do I know? I get better sleep. I start to sleep better.
I would say for me, it's excessive soreness is the indicator that I tend to notice first, because I've tried to really hone in on, my desired outcome of a workout is to feel that I worked out the day before, but I don't want to feel,
right.
I don't want to feel that. And to me, any sign of that is I did more than I needed to. So it's like, okay, if I'm really sore, that's my first indicator of like, okay, I overtrained. Now, it may lead to disrupting my sleep, but I think I noticed first, with that. To me, that's the first indicator of like, I always like that. My view is so opposite of how I assess yesterday's workout. Like when I was 25, if I wasn't painfully sore the next day, I was like, oh, that wasn't a good workout.
Yeah.
You know, like,
waste.
It was waste, or I need to do more next time, which is the complete opposite now, where it's like, I did a workout the day before. I'm feeling like, okay, yeah, I could tell I worked out a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, it's perfect. If I'm sore at all, I'm like, damn it. I knew I shouldn't have done that last set. Or I knew I didn't need to pack on that other 25 pounds. I could have just stayed with that weight. That's how I'm assessing it now. Is like, I could have done less and got just as much out of it.
So what's weird about that, what's interesting is I've been so overtrained, and what happens to me, and I've talked to other people this happens to as well, is I stop getting sore.
Yeah, because you're so overtrained.
I just don't get sore from my workouts.
You're so adapted.
And I bet I start to feel fatigued and I start to lose strength.
That's where I notice it the most is I feel like so fatigued, and it just carries on throughout the day to where I'll be driving home and like nodding off, and I'm like, oh my God,
right.
I'm too over stressed.
The first time this really made sense to me was I stupidly, in my early 20s, attempted to do a double split, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger style routine. And because I owned my own business, I had the ability to schedule my clients in a way to where I was doing 2 workouts a day. And I thought it was going great because I wasn't sore. And I'm like, oh, I can keep doing this. Of course, I had all the other signs: disrupted sleep, fatigue. I was getting weaker. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, the soreness for me isn't the best indicator. It's all the other stuff.
No, I think that's a really good point, because I have been there too. And I think this is when you are more prone to overtrain.
You
is
just
that
go hard,
you ignore the early signs of just oversoreness. You keep
barrel
going
through it.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
barrel through that. No longer get sore anymore. Then you're like, oh, now it's trickled down to the sleep and then the midday fatigue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All the other idiot lights.
So I agree. I agree with that. I think that again, it highlights my personal evolution of getting better.
Yeah,
right,
you're listening with the first.
Yeah,
red flag.
I'm listening right away. The first flag is that, but you're right. Previously, I had trained myself to ignore that it would have to then bleed into the other ones.
That's right. So real quick recap, you could cut the intensity way down 50% of what you normally do, or you could cut 1 or 2 sets off each exercise, or a whole exercise completely. Or instead of following a 7-day split, you add extra rest days. So now you're working on a 10-day split or something like, or just take a whole week off.
Yeah, I think a generic, so people have actual, like your easy way to just literally reduce all the weight 50%.
That's it.
I mean, if you reduce the weight of 50% for the intensity
And you're
one,
like, that's too easy. That's the point.
yeah. And then the volume one, if you just took a set off of every exercise, is a generic, good, easy way to kind of test. And what's always a great indicator that you were overtrained is you do that and you feel better.
You're stronger.
You're stronger. You feel like you either maintained or gained strength doing less intensity or less volume. Yeah. That's always a clear indicator that you were overreaching.
That's right. All right. Next up is when you are feeling like you want to get after it. You are feeling good nights of rest. You're feeling strong. And this is when it might be a good time to kind of get after it. Well, the 2 ways you could do this are either adding volume or adding intensity. In my experience, I get better results, and my clients have typically gotten better results by adding volume. Yeah. Adding intensity, boy, can that turn bad very quickly.
Yeah.
Because the intensity matches the energy
That's a
real
delicate
quick.
Dance, yeah.
And it turns into I'm going to kill myself. But typically what I'll do, and again, what I've done with clients, when they're feeling great, we're going to add just a couple more sets. Not a ton more, but just a couple more. You've already done 2 more sets. You've dramatically increased the volume, and you've taken advantage of this great energy that you have.
I'm with you. I agree on adding volume here, because it's just adding intensity is such a delicate thing, right? It's I think of intensity like the nitrous in a car, right? It's like, absolutely, it has tremendous value. We know what the research says about
crack your engine block.
Yeah, exactly. No, seriously, that's why I like that analogy, because it's like, yeah, absolutely, a shot of NOS will definitely get you ahead. But it's also easier to abuse that or blow an engine rod. It's like, you're far better off just driving a little further, drive a little bit further, more volume, right? And you're less likely to overdo it versus, I feel great today, and you go right to that nitrous, right?
Yeah, because I've overdone it with intensity because I felt like I was great.
Yeah, I'm so much better with my clients with this, obviously.
Yes,
I've been guilty of going the intensity route, but yeah, it's so much better to do volume.
Totally. Today's program giveaway is MAPS 15. If you want to win that, leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. We also have a sale on 2 workout program bundles. We have the Shredded Summer Bundle and we have the Bikini Bundle. They're both 50% off right now. If you're interested, go to mapsfitnessproducts.com and then use the code June50 for the discount. Back to the show. Next, joint pain. You got like nagging joint pain. This is a combination of things that you do at the same time. And most people only do one or the other. So here's what you do when you have joint pain. You cut down your volume and you replace that volume with mobility work. In other words, you replace volume with your traditional exercises with mobility work volume. Now, most people do this. They either cut the volume and that's it. So like, I'm going to do less shoulder press. It hurts my shoulder, which is a very temporary fix. Doesn't really solve the issue. Or they just throw mobility on top of their current workout and their body can't necessarily handle the extra work. So what it looks like is, let's say you're going to the gym and you have kind of nagging shoulder pain and your typical workout, let's just say was, overhead press, 3 sets and 3 sets of laterals. And you notice the overhead press is what really hurts your shoulder. Well, now I'm going to do 3 sets of mobility and then laterals. I'm going to skip the shoulder press and replace it with mobility work.
It's not like a Band-Aid.
That's right.
And I have seen this a lot, especially with clients. They'll ask for certain movements and things to really help with this pain, and then they'll just add it before or on top of what they're currently doing and not addressing the fact that this is, too much stress that we need to kind of pull back a bit from the volume.
Well, wouldn't you guys say that joint pain typically is due to weakness or dysfunction?
Yeah, instability, dysfunction.
Right? So if that's the case, then the reducing volume is going to help with bring down inflammation. The added volume and mobility is hopefully going to address the weakness or instability.
That's right.
Yep.
And so in a perfect world, I notice joint pain. So reducing volume, okay, that's going to bring down the inflammation. Now, what do I put into the workout? I put movements that are going to support where the weakness is at. And it's typically around some joint. It's normally low back, hip area. It's going to be hip mobility stuff. If it's shoulder, like you guys are, it's shoulder mobility type of work. And that's going to not only help bring down the elimination, and also facilitate recovery, but also address where there might be some sort of instability and weakness.
Yes. Now, here's another key with this. You do the mobility at the beginning of the workout, not at the end. People make this mistake all the time. Now, doing it at the end is okay, but it's subpar in comparison to doing it in the beginning. Now, why? Why would I do it in the beginning? Because doing proper mobility at the beginning is going to change how I do the exercises later, which will also contribute.
Proper response.
Yes, it'll also contribute to improved stability. So now I'm doing the mobility, which is great for stability. And now because I'm getting muscles to fire differently, I'm going to be doing my traditional exercises, which now are done differently and will also contribute to the mobility itself.
This is our philosophy around priming.
That's right.
Here's an area that your body is not moving ideally, most likely due to the instability and weakness. Prime around the joints before you go into your workout. Therefore, when you go into the workout now, hopefully that joint is moving more optimally. And that's really what that's all about.
Totally. All right. What about if you just plateaued, right? I just plateaued. I'm not getting good results. You've already identified you're not overtrained. So that's not the issue. Why am I not getting results? Well, it may be time to change a variable in your workout. Now, there's a few different ways to do this. The easy way to do this would be to simply change the tempo of your lifting. And I'm not joking. This sounds silly. It sounds stupid. But I like it because it's simple and it's easy and it doesn't require lots of programming knowledge. In other words, you could take your current workout and, I'm plateauing. What do? I could either go lighter and lift faster, which requires a little more skill, or typically, most often, do slower reps, do a 4-second negative, train like that for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then watch what happens.
Would you guys say that the more advanced and experienced you are, the more likely the variable or the novelty needs to be different? Meaning,
yes,
I find with a very new beginner and they hit a plateau like this, all I have to do is tweak one of these variables, tweak tempo or what that. Somebody like, say I was training one of you guys who's very experienced, I would have more success with almost changing all of it. So let's say Justin loves mass performance. He's always trained that. He's complaining to me, oh, I'm at a plateau, Adam. So switching him to something way different than that.
Drastically different
would be the move. That's going to probably manipulate some of the exercises. It's going to change the tempo. It's going to change the rest periods, set all the above. Ranges. And that to me, I find this is how, I mean, when I am communicating online to people that ask this, like say in a DM, I'm going to ask like, hey, what program are you currently following? And then whether they're following a MAPS program or one of our programs that are like a program like one of our programs, I'll take in what they're talking to me, and then I'll send them in a direction that I think is way different.
Yeah. Now here's why that's the case, by the way, for people listening. It's like, well, why is it that for beginners changing just one variable is good or better, whereas when someone's advanced, you change the whole program completely? When you're advanced, the learning curve that happens from doing all these different variables is short. It's very short. For a beginner, oh my God, if I take a beginner and move them from a powerlifting routine to one that's more on athletic performance, there's a massive learning curve that has to happen before we can even train the exercises properly with intensity, whatever. There's too many variables all at once, which is fine if you find it fun and enjoyable, but it actually slows down your progress if you're looking for consistent progress. With the beginner, one variable is enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to end up throwing too many things.
Because it's super novel to the
that's right.
The beginner tempo, they've never manipulated it, so it's a massive novel stimulus. The guy like one of you guys who've played with tempo 100 times in your routine, it's novel enough for a workout, but not novel enough to see continual gains. So then I want to switch up several things, and then I feel like you're going to reap more benefits.
And rep ranges is up there as well. But again, I like tempo and rep ranges because it's simple and easy. But again, if you're more advanced, change the program. Lastly, unmotivated or bored. Now, I do want to clarify this, that if you get unmotivated and bored after 2 weeks of working out, like you got to work on your discipline. Okay. Like this is just you needing a hyper motivation to consistently work out, in which case exercise the muscle of discipline, because this is going to serve you very well on your fitness journey long term. But if you've been working out for a long time, or you've been pretty consistent for a while, 6 months, a year, you're like, God, this is just, it's just boring. I don't feel motivated. It's time to switch your goals and your mindset. Now, here's why I say mindset. Switching goals requires a change in mindset. Okay. If you've been powerlifting for a year and at first you loved it, you couldn't wait to go to the gym, it was so fun. Now you're finding yourself going, I don't want to go do this. This is kind of boring. I don't feel like deadlifting, squatting, and benching, and it's just not that great. Yes, switch your goal, but also change your mindset, because the mindset has to change, because you're not going to be deadlifting, squatting. You're going to maybe lose strength in those, but now maybe you need to focus on lateral mobility, lateral strength, maybe a little bit on stamina, maybe on unilateral type of work, which requires a completely different mindset. Because if you don't change your mindset, what you may fall into, the trap that can sometimes happen, is you go into a new training goal or program and you start thinking about all the gains you're losing, or, oh man, my max is going down, or whatever.
Yeah, I do think this probably applies a little more towards your advanced person, just because of that fact that like it's you're building upon this discipline. You're learning how to really get your body to adapt and what to do. Consistency is the ultimate focus in the very beginning. And so if you're at a place where you're a pretty consistent person, you're doing all the right things, but at the same time, you're just like, it's been drudgery because I've just been focused on the same thing. This is where we can kind of play with a different stimulus.
Yeah, how you open this was really important as far as comparing the two types of people here, because we have a large audience that follows MAPS programs. And I do get this quite a bit, where somebody, and I ask them, and they tell me something like, oh yeah, I have like 6 programs. And then I ask, well, which one did you finish last? And like, you know what? I haven't finished any of them all the way through. And they tend to bounce from, program to program to program. That person needs to hear, you need to follow through on it. You need to actually follow it all the way through and trust the process and be consistent, reap the benefits from the consistency and trusting good programming. That's total different advice from the person who actually follows through. So that makes a huge difference in who you're speaking to on how you do that.
Totally. Hey, I got to talk, the active ingredient in Happy Drops from Organifi, saffron. I've talked about this for a couple times. I just keep reading studies on its effects on depression, anxiety. It's pretty amazing. They even did a study where they combined it with antidepressants and showed it actually made the antidepressant work better.
Oh,
but
with it.
But on its own, it seems to be a serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. So increase the levels of those neurotransmitters. All those neurotransmitters combined can give your brain kind of this better sense of well-being. So it's like one of the best natural compounds that I've seen. And there's a few that are out there. St. John's wort is one of them, but the data on it is kind of like, it's kind of meager or whatever. Saffron, the study seems so it kicks ass when it comes to like lifting mood.
Now, did you say that it's an adaptogen? Or does it work like an adaptogen?
No, it may, but it may in a different way. That's a good question.
Because I think the first thing that you hear that and you go like, oh, okay, well that's great, but then does it downregulate and do you adapt to it and then you no longer see benefits?
That's a good question. I don't know, but the last study that I looked at, I'm looking at one from I saved it. I'm looking at one from 2009. Ready for this?
Yeah.
It was Doug. What is the brand name for? Let me see. It's fluoxetine. Fluoxetine is an SSRI, and I don't remember what the brand name is, but it was as effective for mild to moderate depressive disorder with fewer side effects.
Prozac.
Oh, that's Prozac.
So classic Prozac. Thanks. I knew it was that one. Classic Prozac. It was as effective with fewer side effects, and the kicker is saffron's cheap and inexpensive.
So weird when we have studies that support that. I mean, is that because, Sal, we also have studies that support the opposite? Like, why would we even continue to prescribe that to people if this is in these studies it's showing that saffron is as good or better?
Is that a real question? Or
I know how, like, I know that the drug industry is the biggest gangsters that we have, but so I get it's money motivated driven, but man, when we have stuff that's showing in studies that it's as good or more effective and it's natural, wild to me that we still would even use that. Or is it because like I said,
the consumer just isn't aware? I'm pretty sure.
Is there not other studies that show how great the Prozac is and others?
Well, yeah, let's think that's the oldest. I think that was one of the first SSRIs most widely prescribed. It's it's funny. It reminds me of I had a conversation yesterday with some of our team, and they were asking me why the medical community is so behind on hormone replacement therapy treatments for perimenopausal and menopausal women. And like, why is it that? Because now we're seeing like it makes a big difference. And I know people like they went on hormone replacement therapy and it solved life-changing. Yeah. And they're like, why wasn't this like studied, or why is this new? Why isn't there a lot of doctors?
Who does all the studies?
Well, here's why. Look at the margins on estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and look at the margins on SSRIs and anxiolytics. Mm-hmm. So what they were doing with women, again, if you look at categories of people who are most likely to be prescribed SSRIs and anxiolytics, it is postmenopausal women. The margins on those drugs are massive. The margins on estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, which are all generic, are tiny. So it makes sense that the money would go in that direction. And if you go to the doctor, and doctors are great, right? But they're only going to do what they've learned and been taught. You're a woman, you go to the doctor, and you're like, oh God, I don't know what's happening. Suddenly I'm just feeling not myself. I'm irritable, or I feel kind of down, or I'm getting all these anxiety symptoms. I don't know what's going on. Doctor's like, let me prescribe you an SSRI. Let me prescribe you an anxiolytic. And it kind of does solve the symptoms, but it was coming from these massive hormonal changes, which you could go on these hormones, get your hormones balanced, and it's less side effects and better for you.
Yeah, I don't know who he had on, but it just was so enlightening, the fact that we're so behind with women's health. It's because we just... Too, like, it's dangerous to have women sign up for a lot of these experimental studies, with the reproductive effects of that. And I didn't even dawned on me, because like most people that would even sign up for like a study where it's like, you could potentially have some side effects or not, or all these college age men.
Yes, when you put up what they do, with a lot of these companies do, is they'll send out like a bulletin, and it'll say looking for willing participants to engage in a study, and we'll pay you $50 a day, or what? It's just usually almost nothing.
Screams teenage boy.
It's a bunch of college-age males because they're more
risk. It's like, okay, cool.
They're less risk averse. They're like, yeah, I'll make some money. I'll take some placebo or whatever. Let's see what happens. it's far less women signing up for it. Definitely far less menopausal women that are going to sign up for that. So you just see results that typically apply to men and not necessarily women. And are men and women different? You know, physiologically?
Of course. I know.
Very
It's
much
crazy.
so, especially comparing that teenage boy to a perimenopausal woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit different there.
Absolutely.
Crazy data there.
I found a study on hypertrophy, actually a meta-analysis on failure training for hypertrophy.
Ooh.
This is so cool. Okay, this is so cool. It was a meta-analysis. Training close to failure is great for hypertrophy, but when it comes to building strength, not as necessary. And this is great because strength athletes, Olympic lifters and power lifters, oftentimes train at lower intensities than bodybuilders do. And so what does this say to you? Why is training for strength require less intensity than training for hypertrophy? What do you think?
Better programming.
Well, I think it's
It's objective. You have to add weight to the bar, and so there's less room for error.
Yeah.
Like bodybuilding, you can get away with too much there. It's not a big deal. It's not, and I don't care if the next day I go to bench press and I'm 50 pounds lighter. It doesn't matter.
Well, see, what these studies are actually showing is it does contribute more to muscle growth. So I think bodybuilders have it right for the most part. But I think it's because people don't realize that strength is as much of a skill as it is bigger muscles. So a power lifter who could practice bench pressing 3 days a week at a lower intensity is going to bench press more than a power lifter who trains almost to failure once a week, might get bigger muscles.
That's fair.
But isn't going to bench as much.
I see.
It's the skill aspect of it. I think that's kind of what's happening. Kind of cool though, right?
Yeah.
I think people listening, the takeaway from this is to play with both.
Yeah.
Increase your frequency, drop the intensity.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's what'll be received though from everyone. It'll be
Everyone's going to be hard.
Yes, I think that's the problem with that study is that's going to lead. I mean, I find that, and again, I was guilty of this because of studies like that. I go, oh, it's great for hypertrophy. Well, that's what I care about is building muscle.
Yeah.
So I'm going to train to failure all the time. I think most people that are fitness enthusiasts, people that train consistently, overdo the failure training.
Yep.
I think that you can never train to failure and build an incredible physique. I think you can
Long-term better.
I think you can get strong. I think you can build a great physique and never have trained to failure.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that I don't think failure has its place. I just think, again, back to like the nitrous analogy, it's just so easy to overdo it and over apply it. The average person who doesn't know anything about engines are most likely going to blow their engine.
I thought you were going to bring up like some kind of discrepancies of like this exercise selection in comparison, with your strength versus like your hypertrophy focus.
No, but I will say this too.
You're saying us hypertrophy guys don't pick good
Lame
exercises.
exercises. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Side press.
Cool.
That's a failure, though.
No, I think what's important to bring this all together is that studies on strength training are never 2 years or 3 years long. They just don't do studies like that. They're at the most 2 months, 3 months long. Is getting stronger because your technique is better, does that contribute to more muscle growth in the long term? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think it's important to train for all of it, even if your goal is simply hypertrophy. I think in a year or 2 or 3, the biggest muscles are going to go to the person who trains both for hypertrophy, closer to failure, but also has those cycles of training skill and technique like a strength athlete for strength.
Yeah.
I think they're both important for that. And that's the thing about these studies that you have to be,
You gotta
very
parse all that out.
Yeah, very kind of.
I saw that you shared something that I brought this up on the podcast a long time ago. I don't remember how long ago when I first saw this news, and I saw you brought it up today. And I'm gotta admit, I'm really, really excited about the enhanced games.
Oh yeah.
I just
Did we first speculated it before it was a thing, right? We were like, man, it'd be cool if they just like went all in.
I mean, I've this bad to say this, I guess. I don't know. I've always thought that cut them loose,
bro.
just like I think in regular sports.
I mean, look what it did for baseball.
Yeah,
it was uninteresting, and then all of a sudden it's super interesting.
Doug, I'm going to send you a picture of Australian swimmer
Does he look like a bodybuilder?
James Magnuson. He competed in the Olympics, and now he's competing in the enhanced games.
Now, what's interesting
and
about
I want you to see his before and after.
So I know you're going to bring up an extreme example, but I bet you, okay, here's let's have some predictions on this because I think it's going to be a great experiment. No doubt steroids give you a huge advantage, but in sports,
Look at his picture, bro.
Oh my
He
God.
looks way different, dude.
Yacked.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he does look way different.
Yeah.
Any idea what his times are before and after?
Oh, they're already talking about it. These enhanced athletes are going and they're competing in these little pre-games
Yeah.
and they're already breaking world records.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Really?
They're shattering world records.
Really?
And what's
'Cause
happening?
He's bigger. He's like got more mass to contend with.
So what happens is,
Because you would think some of that is
yeah,
is
I don't know
not
if it'd be an
advantageous.
advantage.
yeah, no, he's still training like a
Because
swimmer.
muscle sinks, bro. It ain't helping you skim across the water.
He's not this. Listen, that physique that you see on the right is not because he went and started bodybuilding. He's training like he did before. The only
Yeah,
difference,
yeah. It's
the only
just-
difference is
He's enhanced.
Yes. By the way, that's not saying that Olympic athletes don't enhance themselves, but they
Yeah.
can't go too far because they'll
Yeah,
get
they
caught.
can't. They can't be a complete
Yeah, they're-
lab experiment.
Yeah, these
now
guys
they
are like,
can.
they're going
yeah,
into it.
Yeah, hook me up.
Yeah, test me.
Test me, hook me up, do whatever.
Here's what he's taking. He said,
Like, is there no limits? Like,
No.
like
No.
all the things.
Nothing.
Like he could literally just keep like a cocktail
every
of
peptide, everything.
Take
every
whatever you
growth
want.
hormone. Like
So here's what he's on.
Let's
So-
go.
So he says, I feel like I'm 18 again. And what he's on is he's on testosterone and he's all on peptides, BPC 157, CJC 1295, and ipamorelin. So testosterone and growth hormone releasing peptides.
and I bet you he's actually not on a crazy testosterone dose.
well, no, too much would make him slow.
That's what I mean. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I think this is
Yeah,
going to
there's
be
a line
interesting because there is a
Some
line.
people
It's not just
overdo
like
it.
the more steroids you take, the faster and better you're going to be at everything. Like there's definitely a bell curve here of where it's like absolutely it
this
helps.
is impeding on performance and skill.
So here are the events that they're doing that I know about. And I think it's only these events. I know it's swimming events and track events and weightlifting. Which one do you think is the biggest gains?
It's gonna be amazing.
The weightlifting?
yeah.
I can't wait to see Olympic.
So wait, can we get some dates and details on this? Like when is this going down?
It's happening in Vegas, by the way.
Yeah, in
Sin
2026,
City, why
That'd be fun.
May
to watch.
21st through the 24th
Whoa,
of 2026.
May?
And yet next year.
Next year.
I was like, holy crap! What? Okay. So we still got a year.
I want to go.
We got.
I know.
I would be down.
I so want to go to this.
We should go.
Just yeah.
We should absolutely go.
I want to see what happens when you take.
I want to know if
off.
Transcend is sponsoring this. They should absolutely be like a major sponsor. Of
Oh
this.
my god, dude! I think if you're one of these athletes and you're just
all the peptides.
yeah,
and
dude, like
hormones.
they should tape the name of the.
Now, okay, I guess if it's just swimming, weightlifting, and what'd you say?
I think so. And
Yeah,
sprint
it's
and track.
track and field. Yeah, that's it.
Is that it? Well, now track and field is a lot of things, though, right?
Well,
I
they
mean,
have the
that's like-
100-meter sprint
Okay.
and the 110-meter hurdles.
so not
That's
a lot.
it.
So
That's
not a lot
it.
of events.
Yes.
So okay, let me ask you guys this:
Any predictions?
look
on,
up all the events. I want us to guess
yeah,
which one is
okay.
going to have the biggest impact.
that's
Okay,
all.
so there's swimming, 50-meter, 100-meter, freestyle. That's the freestyle, and then 50-meter and 100-meter butterfly.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for swimming.
Okay.
Okay.
Then for track and field, 100-meter sprint, 100-meter or 110-meter hurdles, and that's it for track and field.
Okay.
Okay.
And for
Just
weightlifting,
those?
snatch, clean and jerk. That's
Okay.
it.
I got you. I already know which ones are going. I know which ones are going to have the biggest. Like record breaking.
Okay.
All the short distances for swimming and track, not
Clean-
hurdles, but
clean
the
and
100.
jerk.
Yeah,
Well,
just the
that's-
short stuff
That's everything. John. I think we should pick a obviously
of all of them.
Yes, I think swimming will be the least.
I think you're right
I think swimming. I think
because you have water drag.
yes,
it's so technical.
yes, it is. It is.
I agree.
I think it's one of the more technical ones. It is also the like least advantageous to be super muscular. So being way more muscular.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they're all
Recovery,
taking.
though, I mean,
they're
it'll-
all taking that.
it'll
So
be
that-
big for
that's
that,
going to be helpful for training, right? Recovery,
Yeah.
and that's where it's an advantage. But I think
With
we'll
the actual
see the.
performance,
I
I
think
don't
we'll
know.
see the least impressive. Like they're all going to probably break records, but we'll see the least impressive record breaking
Swimming?
in swimming. Is my guess.
Okay, so I would say the most impressive, I would say, would be the clean and jerk. I think that's probably going to have the biggest
think so, too.
impact. Now, here's the other thing, though. Keep in mind, here you're going to have swimmers competing in the enhanced games, and they're going to be trying to break records set by people like Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
Michael Phelps was a genetic phenom.
Yes.
So to get a guy who couldn't even be, let's say, was the top
That's
five,
what I'm saying.
suddenly break a record, that'd be a big deal.
This is my point that I'm making is that, and this is why I think this is going to be an interesting experiment.
Yes.
Is we talk about all the time about genetics still trumps everything.
Oh,
yeah.
So the most ideal, primo body for swimming is still a better advantage than the average Joe who wants to take a bunch of
course.
drugs. So it will be interesting if they can even beat his times.
I want
So
to know what kind of, so is it all like athletes that used to be
Yes.
like top tier athletes
Yes.
that are now like
oh
kinda
yeah,
coming out of retirement?
Oh, they have to be,
Yes.
Justin, because they wouldn't even, because to this point we're making right now,
Well, that's
the average dude would not even come close to touching
No,
Michael
you
Phelps.
could, you get a state.
You
get
could juice. I'm a good swimmer. You could juice me out of my mind, train
Yeah.
me for a year, and I wouldn't come close to touching his stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I know, like it as this evolves and becomes a staple and an option, you know, and it gets more money involved. It'd be interesting to see if people actually started their career earlier and going in the enhanced route versus, you know, trying to go legit and then crossing over.
Here's the problem. Well, first off, the prize money is $1 million.
See, that's
$1 million.
That's significant.
And a swimmer, a track athlete, and an Olympic lifter,
Yeah, where do
they
they
don't
ever
make
just
money.
not, you're not going to get the prestige.
You don't make no money in those sports.
Isn't this a lot like the LIV and then the golf,
Yeah.
like in terms of like, well, just the money?
Well,
like,
here's the deal.
paid
Who's the
versus
organization putting this
prestige?
on?
So I know Trump is one of the investors.
Oh, investor, but who's the
I
organization?
don't know.
It's called enhanced. That's it.
Such a good
So I can see-
Roids.
Yeah, you're right. Just call it. Just call it out. Come watch steroids.
Yeah. Well, it has
Not for kids.
It has to be retired athletes because I bet you competing in this disqualifies you for the Olympics.
I know that's
They'll
exactly,
never let you in.
Exactly. So, but I guess what I'm looking at with that is when they start comparing times, and I think this is great experiment too to show how genetics are superior.
Yes, that's why I think it's going to be a cool
roids.
thing to watch. It's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting to see.
But then you combo the two.
Hey,
and
here's
like, oh shit!
I won't be surprised if we don't see any of these records being broken. If another Michael Phelps thing you touched, I
not a
won't be
bad
surprised.
point.
I would not be surprised by that.
Yeah.
I'll be more surprised if these guys break the genetic anomalies records in Olympics. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to become the neatest part about all
Well,
this.
I mean, let me ask you guys this:
Yeah,
if you
people have high
have
expectations, I guarantee you. Of what
would
they're
a
gonna do.
would a top 10 athlete in the world, let's say you're ninth in the world, you compete in the Olympics, you get ninth. Would gearing the hell out of that person get them to first?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Probably not. You probably
No
get
way.
top 3.
Yeah, maybe
top
maybe
5.
you jump a few spots, but I don't think it makes you the best.
No, you're right.
No,
I agree.
I think maybe if you're 1 and 2 and you're number 2 and you're close,
Now you're doing
and you push, maybe you edge out there. You're not going from 10 to the greatest by steroids.
What happened to Ben? Remember Ben Johnson? He got
I was
busted?
just thinking of Ben Johnson.
What was he before he won gold and they got caught taking?
I thought he was already crushing it.
I don't think he was
He beat
first.
Carl Lewis, right? In that one, and then got it revoked.
Wasn't he the same guy the Balca guy that helped
Yeah.
him too? There's a whole documentary on him. I
But
thought
there's speculation that a lot of the sprinters that didn't get initially popped, like they found out later.
By the way, they were smart at the events they picked. You know, they picked the events that they thought the steroids would impact the most. Because you do distance, you do things that's super technical.
Yeah.
You're not going to have that big. Like if it's long distance
I
running,
wonder, do you think that's what they did? I mean, that's
yeah,
of course.
sprinting.
Oh, are these the founders?
Yes.
Oh yeah, look at those guys.
Yeah,
that Peter
short
Thiel?
distance sprinting
Yeah,
definitely would have.
yeah.
an
Oh,
impact.
those are investors. Okay.
Those are investors. Yeah.
These aren't necessarily the founders.
Whoever's going to be running it.
Who came up with the idea?
I know. I mean, it's a smart idea. I wish I came up with it. Because everyone's going to want to watch it too.
I would imagine
Well,
the
now
harder
the
part is
taboo
getting
sort of,
I don't think it's
less-
a unique idea as much as it is like how you got this to pass and be allowed.
How do you not get? Yeah, it's shut down right away.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of us at one point thought, it'd be cool to let these guys take all the steroids. What kid didn't think of that?
I'm sure the only
Steroid baseball, steroid basketball, steroid football. Let's go.
keep in mind it's in Vegas that they approve pretty much everything.
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
if you're going to get it approved anywhere,
That's
It's
true.
going to be the place that has legal prostitution. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, this will be. I'm super curious, and I think here's why it will die. It'll die if it because I think
If these guys don't do anything. Except
Yes. I mean, how boring is that going to be? All enhanced, and they can't even beat the
It just looks like
non-enhanced
a
Olympians.
college event.
Yes,
I mean, it might. Honestly, I bet you it will.
I would not be surprised. So don't
Yeah.
be surprised.
People are going to have way higher expectations.
You know what makes-
than
I think so, too.
You know what they've shown to make the biggest impact on swimming are the suits that they had to ban. Do you remember those suits that they were
The
wearing?
streamlined ones.
Yeah.
They had to ban those because
Yeah.
they were such a technological advantage.
Zero friction.
Oh,
or
yeah,
at
dude.
least
Well,
way less.
remember that one TED talk we watched? That's
What if the
the
enhanced
evolution of sports is mostly all that.
Yeah.
Even like the way the pool is designed, where the water flows over, that made one of the biggest differences in the speed. All the records being broken once they had the remember, so
We
the
were wearing the little shower caps.
yeah, all those things make a bigger difference. So there, where this thing keeps going, or like what it'll try is the way that athletes look.
Of course.
That is because it's going to be
marketable.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
very
marketable. It
marketable.
looks cool, but
Yeah, because I've never just seen a swimmer look like
but
that.
how lame is it going to be though when these like crazy looking bodies don't outperform all the Olympic records? I bet you that happens actually.
This is great.
I would
can't
bank
wait
on
to
that.
see.
It'd be cool to bet on it.
It would be cool to bet on that because I think a lot of people are going to assume that they have this massive advantage, and it's like
They do have an advantage, but it doesn't trump genetics, technique, and training.
Skill, yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I got an event for you guys that apparently is somewhat going viral. Margaret brought it up to me yesterday in my meeting. She does our customer service. She does a great job.
It's an event.
It's like this. Yes, it's kind of like an event that people are signing up for, and it's called the Hot Girl Walk. Have you guys heard of it?
Hot girl walk. the hot girl
I'm
walk.
like
Hot-
imagining this.
Hot Girl Walk is what it's called. And by the way,
You stick your butt out and wiggle it left
here's
or
what
right.
it is. It's called hotgirlwalk.com. And it's what is the Hot Girl Walk? Here's what it says.
Yeah.
A Hot Girl Walk is a 4-mile walk where you think about 3 things. So you can sign up for this for 4 miles and you walk.
This is like a real thing.
This is what it is, okay? By the way, I'm just gonna say this ahead of time. This really strongly highlights the difference between men and women, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So here's what you do.
What?
For the first mile, you think about the things you're grateful for. So you just walk for a mile, for the
Good
first
exercise.
part of
Okay,
it.
that's a good
Think about
exercise.
the things you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Then you think about your goals and how you're going to achieve them.
Okay.
And then finally, you think about how hot you are.
Is that really what it is?
Yes, dude. Yes, bro.
It's 3 things.
That's it.
Who came up with
And
this?
it's going all over the place. It's like all over the news, and you can sign up and
It's the
find out.
dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, that's because you're a guy, dude. By the way,
And that gets people to do 4 miles.
well, okay. So here's where I like to highlight
Facepalm.
the difference between men and women, which I think is great. I think it is motivating for a woman to do those things, and at the end, think about how hot she is or how great she is. I think that helps. For a guy, let me just tell you what this would look like. The first 2 things would be the same. Think about what your gratitude, your goals. The last part would be think about what a piece of crap you are and how weak you are. that would be the motivating. You were a pussy.
I'm always so curious how something like how this takes
What?
off. Like who decided this would be a thing, and then how did you get a big community behind this?
Yeah, dude.
I thought this was some weird catwalk thing.
No.
where they're all
That's
like,
that's what I thought. I thought it was like a reel, like a 30-second.
So they have
throw your hair and shake your butt. Like
They're in
that.
Miami,
Yeah.
New York City, LA, Nashville, Las Vegas,
this sounds like
Boston,
an LA idea.
London,
do a
and
few
Australia.
booty pops and then you're done.
Yeah, dude. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool.
We can hate on it, but it's like not a bad thing.
Hey,
No,
no,
it's
I
not.
get some walking.
yeah.
That's great,
I mean,
but
I'm pro gratitude. I'm pro walking. I'm pro confidence. So I mean, I guess it's all.
This
it's
just
all-
goes like
yeah.
way over my
Hey,
head.
Justin, I want you to think about how hot you are.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you should try a hot guy walk and see if that goes. See if we can get that trendy.
Well, some guys would sign up, but it would be straight guys, bro.
Damn, look at me, dude.
You know what I mean?
Are the alpha guy groups still going like crazy? Is that still or is that losing its luster? I feel like
I haven't seen any.
I feel like we peaked.
Yeah,
I think,
any drill sergeants like
Alpha.
spraying spit
I would
on
love to
people
see
lately.
the enrollment on those. I mean,
I think they're dropping, and I think what's happened because the data
people
now,
know how stupid they are.
Well, I think here's what. Okay, is my speculation. Because what you saw for a second was that, and now we have data on young men and the direction that they're going into trending, and where they're trending is actually towards faith. They're going towards faith. They're going to Catholic religion, Orthodox. They're going to non-denominational. And I think what happened for a while is men felt lost. I think they still do. I think they were told that they were toxic. I think they were told that they're worthless, that, whatever. And so guys were looking for something, and you had a lot of these sharks on social media. They're like, come to my event in the woods where we scream at you and tell you how to be tough. And I think some guys went to that like, this is not it.
I mean,
so they're going towards.
There was a cool thing somebody broke down to recently. I remember we had talked about this a while ago. Even Shia LaBeouf, whatever,
Yes.
went through this whole thing of spiritual discovery, but there was like a Latin mass that became popular.
Yes.
And it's because, and he was explaining it more from a right brain, left brain perspective.
Yeah.
Everything is left brain. Everything is geared towards left brain. And you become, you want to control and kind of steer once they translated from Latin to bring it over, it lost a bit of its mystery and its presence.
I'm gonna challenge your thinking. I don't agree. I think there's two major things that's going on from your perspective. I think you're in your own bubble. So that is what you are reading content-wise 24/7.
You want me to show you the data?
And then I'm going to address your data.
Okay.
And then that has been on such a downward spiral for so long that any sort of uptick looks like a revolution.
Oh, it is.
It's been, bro. If you look back,
you're right,
and where it's at right now is still nowhere near it was 40 years ago.
No, you're right.
So it's like,
you're
like
right.
That's not a revolution, bro. It's just like it just hit bottom.
I think we were just hit with so much artificial propaganda.
Correct. You're right, Adam. But that's exactly why they're saying that this is unprecedented, because for decades and decades and decades, especially men, have been dropping out of faith in churches for decades. And this is the first time we've seen in I don't know how many decades, I got to look at the data, where it's reversing.
Right.
And it's reversing in young men, which is typically the demographic that is the worst. Typically, if you see men start to go and reach the faith, it is men who are middle-aged who've had children. But what we're seeing now for the first time in decades is a reversal in young men. And I think it's connected. I think COVID did it. I think this assault on you're a guy, masculinity's toxic, and that, and the other.
I think the pendulum swung so far that it had to come back. We went so far the opposite direction, and it went so far down.
Yeah.
That it's bottomed out, and you're seeing a slight reversal, and that slight reversal seems so impactful because it is in comparison to the last 20 years, but it's really nothing that special.
It's more than 20 years.
Attention game.
It's more than 20 years. It's decades and decades, and
decades and decades of going down.
That's right.
So I mean, it's like at one point as a society, we were already here. We came all the way here, and you're like touting where we're at, right here. We're nowhere near where we were.
No, not at all. But every expert on nobody would have predicted a reversal. Every prediction was it's going to keep going down until it becomes.
Oh, come on! I predicted that. I say it all the time on this podcast. If we swing left to right, swing hard, and we've gone so far to the point where we were saying masculinity was toxic and evil and bad, and like we were totally praising the opposite, and it's just I couldn't imagine it getting more extreme. We were that far. And so it had to come back.
I could have imagined it getting more extreme.
What I'm worried about is that what you think is this huge revival is just that we hit bottom, and before it's going to swing so hard the other direction that we have to come back again before we even get any sort of climbing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is anywhere.
Historically, that seems to be what happens, but since the modernization of society, it's only gone down. It's only gone down, especially the youth. It's only gone down for a long time.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have predicted
the religious grifters are going to start coming in,
bro?
Dude,
it's trendy.
Crazy.
Yeah,
It's getting attention right now. So it's like
I sent you guys this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the company because they're not sponsoring us. I'm not getting a free commercial. But there's a pre-workout supplement. I sent it to you guys. And it's like a faith-based pre-workout. It's got
this is what I'm worried about.
Yeah,
I'm worried that we've gone down. We're in an upward trend, to your point, but that it's gonna swing so hard, so fast that it'll get countered
with fakes.
Yes, and then it'll take something
because it becomes cool
that is potentially a good positive movement in young men, and then turn it in like the very next generation will be going the other direction again because it swung so hard.
I know it's really weird for me, dude. I'm gonna be honest. Like I've been in this game a long time, and like Ned Flanders was like a standard. This was like the guy everybody shits on. Ned Flanders. I did not want to be Ned Flanders. Like I'd hide when people from church saw me at school. Because like I was like, oh yeah, I'm not like that guy. But now it's the opposite. So to me it's interesting to watch culture go through this crazy.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So funny.
Well, and it's fast now, dude. It's so
it's cool now. What?
It's so fast, and it reminds me when I brought up the whole TV thing that I saw so fast. It's just like, whoa, we just went like so hard one direction, then all of a sudden now I'm seeing. Shows take a while to make and produce and push through. So to see it go from there to there that fast, like, damn, that was quick.
I know.
So I'm now I'm more worried that
are you thinking this, Adam, that rather than marketers or Hollywood or whatever, content producers, like you said, like on Netflix, you were talking about some shows that have switched so quickly. And you're right, they take a long time to make.
Yeah.
Do you think rather than reading the trends and responding, they're creating them?
I would not be surprised.
Some of them.
I mean, how do you not question that? To my point,
No, you're right.
That
I mean, I definitely could
all
be.
of a sudden, there's a little bit of movement to right, and we already got movies ready to go. Like that's crazy because you know how long it takes to produce a movie. That's not like an overnight.
takes years.
Yeah, it takes a long time. So years ago, would you even think that some of these movies and shows that are getting highlighted right now would even be getting highlighted?
Yeah.
No, I would think that would take another couple of years for us to kind of wake up and okay, now the trend's moving. Okay, let's start making movies in this direction. But no, we were like,
Ready to
movies were
drop.
out. I was like, whoa, wait a second. That was a little quick right there. You know,
that's
At
interesting.
least enough to make me go, that's interesting.
Well,
you
I know when I see like Eminem and Bruno Mars coming out with a
Hey,
song.
bro, is that real?
That's real.
Can we
bro.
fact check that, Doug? Because I don't believe that.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be released tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
while we're
that's hard
recording
for
this.
me to
Eminem
believe.
is making
A worship song.
Get the
with
fuck
Bruno.
out. I don't believe this. I don't believe this is
That's what
fake
it
news.
said. That's
Come
what it
on,
said.
Doug, make sure you confirm this, Doug.
Yeah.
Because I just don't believe that.
Put
for
Bruno
anything.
Mars, Eminem worship song.
I don't know Bruno
Put
Mars
that
enough.
on my bingo card, dude.
Yeah, that
'cause
was not on a
that's
bingo
like-
card, dude.
I know that.
Unreal.
Does that make your conspiracy cackles shake or whatever?
Oh, big time.
I mean, I don't. So I don't know where. I don't know. Like I've never really.
But
heard.
Eminem definitely does.
I mean, I look at it too, like in that whole music world and especially the rap world and everything else, like you don't want to be associated with what's going on right now in trial with Captain P. Diddy, you know?
Oh, boy.
So, I mean, it could just be a move where it's like, I'm disassociating myself.
So I'm having a hard time too figuring out what's true about that too, because there's a bunch of stuff going viral of people speaking on these on trial and said they're not. It's not real. It's like so what. You know, you wonder if they're just going to inundate us with so much fake news around that.
There's
That you
so
sort of
much
dismiss the real
villainizing and scapegoating, and I mean, it's weird. Like if you listen, and I don't necessarily listen to Candace Owens a lot, but like she's really big into all this stuff, and even like went over the whole Weinstein stuff, and how like most of it was not even factual. But like a lot of the abuse and stuff was, or like he was like a womanizer,
but he wasn't.
But he wasn't a rapist.
And
then she was going through all the facts in the trial and how it all got dismissed. But it's like public perception is still that.
So I imagine, I don't know anything that she's talking about, but I would imagine then her philosophy or theory around P. Diddy is that there's something much bigger, greater than him orchestrating all this, and he's the fall guy.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the other
there it is
executives you don't even hear about them.
Wow. There it is. Eminem dropped a gospel rap song.
Wow.
Is
that a legitimate source right there, Doug?
You know what? I was searching all these different posts and I couldn't really find anything definitive.
There's a song. I could send it to you, Adam, but it's supposed to be released tomorrow.
I mean, you showed me the thing, but I don't believe anything I see on the internet now, just face value. I feel like I need to cross-reference it 8 times before I talk about it, because it's like, I don't know how many times I've been wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. That looks fake. That looks AI to me, bro.
I know. I think there is some suggestion it may be AI.
Stuff, and I'm like, my head's gonna explode, you guys. I really think that like the board, like 2019, you know,
it seems to be 100% AI.
Yeah. Well,
it does look like AI.
You know what?
Well, that's the comments.
Next time we come in, we'll confirm it. So we'll let everybody know, because it's supposed to be released tomorrow. But you know, the thing with P. Diddy, Justin, what makes me think is like, remember the banking crisis? And nobody went to jail. Nobody got busted because what do they call it? Too big to fail.
Too big. Yep.
Someone like P. Diddy, it may just be that so many people are implicated, so many powerful people are implicated, that nobody gets. Maybe he's the fall guy.
Even him, like they're already thinking he might get away with the because they're not charging him with the right thing. They're charging him with sex trafficking, which is not, you know,
they can't prove. Or
they can't prove that, but they could prove that he had abuse with his
ex.
That he had baby oil parties. 1,000 gallons.
But all these stories, it just I can't even conjure that in my mind, like what they're talking about. It's just like, what?
I know, dude.
Yeah.
I know, it's wild. Anyway, I got some information on GHKCU and skin. So I was looking up, so GHKCU, for people that know, is a peptide that, radically accelerates collagen production.
It's amazing.
In the skin. Okay. Topically, you get a 70% increase, is what the studies show, in collagen production. Collagen is what makes your skin look firm, reduces wrinkles, essentially will make your skin look younger. And I was looking up, because you see companies are selling face creams and stuff with GHKCU. Most of them have 0.1%.
That's it.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Luminose
Is it really in there?
Luminose has the highest percentage you'll find. Period. End of story. It's expensive, but it's got the highest percent. By the way, aren't they offering a discount?
Yes, they are.
You gotta feel so bad for the consumer who's, hearing this stuff, shopping, and then it's just like, I think of like red light. You saw this. Anything that is actually really works and gets a lot of traction, gets the studies behind it, and it starts flying. Then here come all the charlatans that make pixie dust the shit.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw the same thing in the CBD market, right? When all the good studies started coming out CBD. Now
CBD soap.
there was CBD and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like, oh man, way to just really just ruin it for everybody, because you take that and then you hear on some podcast, I heard it was so great, and it's like, I didn't feel anything from that. That's what's going to happen with it. I think this also.
No, Luminose has a significant, it's the highest percentage you can find of GHKCU. It's 20% off right now, which is good because it is expensive, but it's got all the GHKCU in it.
I think that's
real GHKCU is not cheap.
Well, and normally things like that, like red light, those types of things are expensive. If it's the real deal, and you pay for what you get, because I think those types of things, you notice it right away.
Totally.
If you use that cream, you'll see. A difference.
Within 2 applications.
Yes, you'll see a difference right away.
A good probiotic will help your skin, your digestion, might even help your mood. That's what the data shows. Oh, by the way, we now have studies showing it improves athletic performance, but some probiotics are just not that good. That's not true for Seed. Seed is the world's best probiotic. Go check them out. See for yourself. Go to seed.com/mindpump. Use the code 25mindpump. Get 25% off. Back to the show.
Our first caller is Lee from California.
What's up, Lee?
How you doing, Lee?
What's happening?
Hey guys, thanks so much for taking my question. Really appreciate it.
You got it, dude. How can we help you?
Yeah, so my question's around programming. With kids and schedules and stress and nighttime routines and wives and birthdays and all that stuff. Sometimes I have more time than others to get a workout done. So oftentimes I can get my 45-minute, 75-minute workout in. But then there's days where I really only have time for more of like a MAPS 15 protocol. So, right now I'm trying to get through performance. So, there's weeks where I'll get through like 1 or 2 weeks of performance, and then the schedule changes, and I need to jump to like something more like a 15. My question is that okay? Like, should I jump to MAPS 15? Can I break up, a couple exercises within performance? And these go for all the other programs, anabolic and powerlift. Kind of what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, you're totally fine. So there are a few, what I would say, and of course there's always, I have to say this because there's always, individual variants. I get this, but there are acceptable and even I would say reasons that I would encourage someone to program HOP. One of them is, are you overtraining? Do you have an injury? Is the programming starting to hurt you in some way? The other one would be time. Now that's a very valid reason to HOP. Like I don't have enough time. Should I do nothing? Because what ends up happening is somebody says, well, I have this program. I can't go to the gym for an hour. Maybe I could do MAPS 15, but I shouldn't program HOP. So I'm just going to skip the workout. Like that's a worse option. Now the reason that sometimes people program HOP that I would say is unacceptable or
He's bored.
not encouraged. Yeah, it's just, I'm bored.
Yeah, I'm bored. I need something different.
I just need to change it up all the time because I like to, change things up. In which case, you're compromising the programming, and that typically leads down a path of poor workout programming. Okay, so in other words, the reasons I listed in the beginning, injury, overtrain, you have other priorities in life because time issues. Like changing the programming there is appropriate and encouraged. I would tell you as your trainer to do exactly that. If you came to me and said, "Hey, man, I don't got a full hour to work out. What do I do?" I would 100% move you to like a MAPS 15 protocol.
I'd say probably most of us. Maybe excluding Sal because he's a little more consistent and ritual with his times. Probably work out like this. I would imagine the other guys, or at least I do. I might be running like an anabolic type of protocol for a month straight and then just busy the following month. And so it just makes sense that MAPS 15 is more conducive for my schedule. And so, yeah, I think so. I think this is a very realistic, but Sal's point I think is valid because when we have people that have hot programs, a lot of it is because they're bored and they want to move to the next thing and they need that novelty all the time of something new. And it's like, well, if that's the reasons why you're doing it, you're missing out on reaping the max benefits. And it is always, ideal to run a program straight through. I mean, it's programmed with that intent, right? But but we're splitting hairs on, how much gains am I losing by doing that? And the other option is to not do it at all because you can't do exactly your program. That's a worse option. So you're better off doing what you're doing.
Is it MAPS 15 or MAPS 15 Performance that you have?
15.
Yeah. Why don't we send you Performance too, so you have more you have another program with that kind of programming, that kind of workout timing and scheduling. Because you're mentioning your time issues. This way you have another program with different workout programming, different exercise setups, and so on that you can reach into. Because I love those two programs specifically for what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 15 keeps me motivated when I can't get the full workout in, and I'm kind of subscribing to the something's better than nothing protocol. My question though, let's say I do anabolic or the full performance and I get, through phase 1 or even through phase 1 and 2, and then the schedule changes and I need to hop to the 15 protocol for however long. Would you jump back in where I left off? Would I restart the program from the beginning?
You mean the MAPS 15 program?
No, if you goes back to
performance. Depends on how long.
Full anabolic or something. And then I go through, let's say I go through 4 weeks of MAPS 15. Would I start anabolic where I left off, or would I just start from the beginning?
I would start from the beginning, but if it was like a week.
Yeah, a week or maybe even 2, but otherwise I would probably jump out.
I mean, straight up though, we're splitting hairs now.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're really starting to split hairs. But I would say 4 to 6 weeks is when you probably want to start over.
Sure. All right. That's great. I really appreciate the advice.
Yeah, you got it, man. I like your shirt too.
Heck yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for
guys.
calling in.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, so just getting a little deeper on this, when programming a workout, there are a lot of components that make it a good programming. One of the components is the entirety of it, right? So when we write a program that's 3 months long, it all works together as one program, and that's going to be the most effective way to use it. However, if in the middle of it, you're like, I'm overtrained, or I'm getting poor sleep, or I injured myself, guess what? That program is no longer ideal for you. So then moving to something that's going to be more ideal for your current situation is going to be better for both your results and everything else, injury prevention and so on. And then time is the other one, because people fall into this problem, which is very common. It's like, man, I can't do the full workout. I guess I'm not working out today, which that's not good. Now, he did say something like something is better than nothing. That's generally true, but not always true. Sometimes what people do with that is they say, well, I only have 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat the crap out of myself and get the most out of this 20 minutes, in which case that was not better than nothing.
And if you've been teetering on overtraining, your body could use the rest and you're going to actually do better. So
now, are you guys more likely to be following like a MAPS anabolic program because you currently have time and then drop down to 15 because you have a busy week? Or a busy week, or do the reverse? I'm going to follow more of a MAPS 15 protocol, and then when I have more time, add volume to it.
What you said the second.
That's how I am now. So when I was younger, it'd probably be the other way around. It would be I'm always doing the most I can when I can, and then when I can't, it's like trying to.
Yeah, when I have those open moments, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to do a full-on workout.
That's probably better. You guys are probably saying long-term is probably great.
I think that's a better strat, and I think that's how I approach it today. That's why I wanted to bring it up versus how I probably would have approached it before, because there's also the option with the way MAPS 15 is written is you could group those together.
Yeah.
So I would be running more of a MAPS 15 protocol, and then hey, when I have these weeks at a time where it's like, oh wow, I'm freeing up, or I'm feeling really good. Hey, I'm going to stack those workouts together. It's probably how I would lean into it.
Honestly, what you're saying is just generally speaking, long term. You look at the big picture. That's a great way. For people to work out. For just currently for what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to limit the amount of time I'm actually lifting weights, but that's a different thing. And that's another thing that people need to consider. There's all these individual variances, and there's a lot of things that you have to consider, and your workout is not your life. Your workout is designed to improve your life. So you have to think of it that way. So how's this going to improve my life versus how do I organize my life just to live for this workout? That's where the fanaticism can start to take hold, and healthy workout becomes unhealthy.
Our next caller is Matthew from Indiana.
What's up, Matthew?
What's happening, dude?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on today.
You got it, man.
So first start off like everyone else, big fan of the show. Listen to you guys every day on the way to and from work and while I'm working out. So appreciate the time. Jump right into it. 26. I just turned 26. Girlfriend is 25. We both met at college. Been together over 3.5 years now. We are currently closing and buying a house and moving in together this summer. Proposal's also coming very soon. She's a teacher, and I work at the college where we both met. We both practice the same religion, and we also want kids in the future. Both work out every day. Lots of casual walks, occasionally runs, sign up for runs, half marathons, 5Ks, things like that. Both lift weights and work out at home. But when school is not in session here on campus, I'll go to the gym here. And so as fathers and husbands, what advice can you give me to help guide me into this next phase of life? And if possible, what is a big lesson you learned with your spouses as you began your lives together? And a little extra information that I did not include. Both come from very good families, raised the right way with big, good siblings, good parents, good things like that. So raised the right way, and just want to hear what you guys' thoughts are.
I mean, I love that you're asking this question at your age, and this is something that's important to you. That's awesome.
Half the battle right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's
intention's everything going into this.
Yeah, because it's going to be, you know, if you plan on getting married, and the idea is to be together for the rest of your life, you're going to be very different 10 years from now. So is she, and then 10 years from them. And there's going to be so many challenges and celebrations you go through together. Life is, life is unpredictable. So the fact that you're asking this is super awesome. I mean, I could tell you a lot of what not to do. That's, I think, the best advice I can give.
Well, let's start with the fitness thing, and then we'll go to the husband thing. And so my piece of advice on the fitness thing first would be, make strength training the core foundation. All the other things you listed, plyos, running, the occasional walks, obviously, I think you hopefully can never stop doing that. But as you get busy, right, and as you have a kid and life happens, some of this time gets away. And I had a tendency early on in my 20s to be all or nothing. And when I look back and I go, man, I really made a mistake being that guy. Like, it would have served me to just have 15-minute workouts or just do one workout for the week if it was strength training based, right? So make that the core foundation, make that the non-negotiable, make sure that you lift weights weekly, and it doesn't necessarily have to look like this 1 hour workout 3 to 5 times a week. It could be sometimes a full body routine one day in the entire week. Sometimes it can be 2 exercises a day. And then the other stuff is like the additional things, because that will give you the greatest ROI as far as keeping you strong, fit, and healthy long term. That's my fitness advice. My marriage advice, we could go all day on all the different things that I think to think about. I think one of the most powerful things in my relationship was understanding her love language and how important that was. I've met a lot of people, and you may have already experienced this, where you truly feel like you're loving the other partner because you're doing this thing, right? You're putting this effort towards loving her, and she doesn't receive it. She thinks that you don't say it enough, or you don't do the things enough. And you're like, what? I do this and I do that. And a lot of times it's just a misunderstanding of what their love language is. We have a tendency to love others the way we want to be loved. And it doesn't always align with what their love language is. Like, give you the example with Katrina and I when this happened, I'll never forget this day because it was a really powerful moment in our relationship, where she was just like, you don't tell me that you love me enough. And I feel like, I always have to ask for it. I'm like, what? I'm like, and at that time, it was a time in my life where every week I was buying her like a Lululemon outfit or something, or a sneaker. I was always thinking about her at while I was working, and when I had a brief moment, I would do that. And I remember pointing over the dresser. I go, that dresser is full of Lululemon outfits that I've bought you in the last year. And that's me going out of my way in the day to buy that for you and show you how much I love you and think about you. She's like, I don't need that. I just need you to tell me. And so, later on, I read the book Love Languages, and that really made a big difference because I really felt like I was loving the shit out of her, yet she didn't feel like I was doing it. And vice versa, it can happen the same way too. So I think that was a really powerful thing.
Yeah, that's great. It says in your email that you're both practicing Catholics and you both are pretty devoted to your faith. Marriage as we know it and practice it, like one man, one woman for the rest of your life, having children, that's a Christian creation. So just like if you were to ask me, hey, Sal, where do I get the instructions to put together this piece of furniture? I would say, well, the best place is to get the instructions from the manufacturer. The person that made that furniture is going to give you the best instructions because they're the ones that made it. So the best instructions for both of you on marriage are found in your faith. Ephesians 5 is really, really good for this. And it really does explain it. There's more in other parts of the Bible. I can't remember where. I think it's 2 Peter somewhere, maybe 1 Peter. But Ephesians 5 is great. And so I would recommend that both of you get in there, read it, understand it, pray. I read some data. I'd never seen data like this before in my life for divorce risk. But couples that pray together nightly have a divorce rate of 1%. There's nothing else that has that big of an impact on divorce. There's nothing that comes close to that. And then couples that do that don't just not get divorced. The rates of satisfaction and joy and love and purpose are also so much higher. So that's where I'll point you. Now, personally, I can tell you what not to do. I made a lot of mistakes. I still make a ton of mistakes, but especially in my first marriage, I made a ton of mistakes. I lived by what the world told me was valuable. I thought my value was making tons of money. I was prideful, lustful, and I thought, oh, this is the way I'm going to find success is what the world shows me is supposed to be success, and that ended in total disaster, and even in the first half of my current marriage. So that's where I'll point you is look there because he's the creator of what you're trying to do. He's going to give you the best instructions, and if you both go into that together, again, I'm a data guy too. I looked at the data, and there's nothing more effective. I haven't seen anything that's more effective than those things right there.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of advice. I mean, it's kind of like an iterative process. This is something like we went and got counseling beforehand, which I think is something to consider. And we do have a religious background as well, so it got us equally yoked, as they say. And that's just something that we set our intention out in that direction, and then so that's just the foundation that established. But from there, it's really just a lot of communication, a lot of understanding differences, lots of areas that we find that we can grow together. We're always both individually seeking growth and then growth together as a couple. And so whatever that looks like and what you guys can figure out where you can build something together, I think going forward in terms of longevity, that's probably my best advice.
I read a quote or I heard a sermon, and it was such a great quote, and it said, the guy said, couples don't fall out of love, they fall out of forgiveness. And I thought that was so true because you are very flawed. So is your wife. We all are. As a Catholic, you understand that. And so it's going to be about constant grace and forgiveness and repair throughout the entire marriage. Because I guarantee you're going to screw up. Guaranteed. I guarantee your wife is going to screw up. Yep. I guarantee you're going to be selfish. I guarantee you're not going to be understanding. I guarantee she's not going to show you respect sometimes. I guarantee she's going to screw up and be selfish. And so it's like, it's just constant repair and forgiveness. But again, Ephesians 5 is great. I mean, my wife and I go through that so often together and alone, and it has been absolutely transformative.
Yeah, one of the things that I hear you guys talk about a lot is being very intentional. So with your spouses and significant others. So we, when we met in college, our senior year, after graduation, we both moved back home to our parents' houses 2 hours away. So we've been doing back and forth for 3 years, 2 hours distance for 3 years. And finally, that's coming to an end of the summer as the school year wraps up for her. And one thing that we've done really, really good at over the last 3 years is being very intentional with how we want to spend our time, and even leaving our phones away when we're together to go for walks or hikes or going on a date night and things like that, just to spend intentional time together. And we want to make sure that we continue to do that. And when we start living together here pretty soon.
That's great, man. I think that's super.
You guys are gonna do
important.
good, man.
You're gonna do great.
The
Yeah,
fact-
you're
the
a
fact
good
that you
guy.
care. Yeah,
Just
the fact-
thinking about it right now, yeah, it's gonna do
super,
do
super
well.
powerful.
You know, one last thing I'll say is the man, the father, and the husband. You're the CEO of your family. So when it comes to making time, just like if you're a CEO and you got interviewed by a news station, they're like, "Hey, how come your company's tanking?" You imagine a CEO up there saying, "Oh, I got these crappy employees and I got this." Everybody be like, "What a terrible CEO." So ultimately, success is actually on you. And so talking about making time and being intentional, that's ultimately your responsibility. So just keep that in mind. And I know as a man, what I'm saying to you is probably making you feel good. You're probably like, all right, I'll do it.
It does.
Yeah, which kind of points to the order, kind of points to what you're called to do. But keep that in mind when what hits the fan. Say, all right, I'm responsible for this. This is my company.
Right.
Have lots of sex too, Matt. It's hard to be fighting with each other if you're having sex all the time too. That's my last piece for you.
Yeah. In the middle of arguing.
Yeah.
Adam said we got to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if she'll
Make sure
appreciate
your girl
that.
hears that.
It'll work out. It'll work out. I promise you, it'll work out.
Well, I appreciate the time, guys.
All
Yeah,
right.
you got it, man. Thanks
All
for
right,
calling in, bro.
Yeah, thank you, and have a good rest of your guys' day.
You got it.
Oh,
Doug,
Just
sorry, but yep.
Sorry. The music.
No
He's
more
like,
questions.
"No, that was the question. I was going to save it."
Yeah, the music that kicks in when they're getting awards. Yeah. Hey, man, wait. Great kid. You know, what is he, 25, 26? Asking that question. That's
I mean,
great,
yeah,
man.
I think Justin said it right. The fact that you're already going into it with the intent of that, I think is half the battle,
Yeah,
right?
it
I
is.
think that's that you care and you want to try. There's a stat on that too in regards to like divorce and stuff. Is that it's when one of the partners has given up on it. It's like very, very chances of them if they just both want
contempt
to.
is huge.
Oh, that's a huge
If they
percent.
just both want to, it's like
Yep.
a huge success. So he'll be all right.
Our next caller is Kuvish from Canada.
Kuvish, what's happening?
How you doing, man?
What's up?
Hello, how's it going, guys?
Good.
All right.
We're good.
All right, I'll jump into my question and then I'll add on some more information because I realized I didn't put everything in there. So if you don't mind, I'll just jump into it.
Okay.
Get it.
All right. So first of all, hello. I'll call you guys like Master Yodas because there's so much knowledge I'm getting from you. I've been a big fan listener for the past 3 years when I discovered you guys right around COVID. And since then, I've been applying a bunch of the stuff you guys have been putting into on the podcast. And it's really changed a lot of how I've been seeing things in terms of sports and my own health. Background of who I am. I'm 28 years old, currently 235 pounds, 6'4" male, living in Montreal, Quebec. So here, obviously, the weather does play a big role on how things go in terms of like working on indoors or outdoors and all the sports I do. Early 2015, I started university and got into weightlifting a bit more for pure power, but also discovered beer. So there was a big, unfortunate muscle loss and weight gain coming from that. And I did put my fitness aside, got all the way to 285 pounds, and I was unfit. I was still big, but somewhat a mobile person. Moving forward to 2021, I wanted to get my groove back, bring back the good old days of me being fit. But during that time, gyms were closed, very limited for COVID again. So I decided to start running, not with the goal of losing weight. It kind of played a role a little bit in there, but just to move around. That was the only thing which was allowed during that time. I invested into some resistance cables and used that for the whole year just to do some small trigger sessions just to keep, my muscle activated. Later that year, even like more towards like late 2022 something, gyms were open again and I got to play around with weights and I like being outdoors and running and challenge myself to do a half marathon. And somehow discovered that I like running quite a lot and started doing OCR races, so the Spartan races and all. from 2021 up until 2024. So I had a pretty heavy calendar of doing like 4 to 5 races at least per year. And during that time, I was somehow able to keep a balance between my weightlifting and running for fun. But now I want to push myself more to perform better. During my time when I was weightlifting, I had my peak lifts for the squat. I did 365. I did 375 pounds on the deadlift, 75 pounds for each dumbbell for shoulder press, and 210 on the bench press. Currently, I'm aiming to be more like a functional athlete. Still want to be able to do heavy lifts. I don't feel like I need to hit PLs every time, but I still want to be able to run an 8-minute mile for my half marathons. I'm also training right now for half Ironman, so it's a lot of like mixed cardio, let's say, events. I also got into trail running and even more doing ultra running. So I really appreciate that environment of trail running, and I kind of want to push the barrier of being the strong and big fit dude, but still able to run on trails. So that is the challenge which I wanna keep giving myself. I am also a firm believer that working out and muscle development can only help my body by protecting it and making me stronger, but somehow still need to be able to be fast on my feet for a long duration. So this kind of gives a conflicting message between building muscle versus being light. To complement all of that, right now, I'm currently working with a coach, and I've been training for a half Ironman, which is going to be in 4 weeks. I've been training since December. However, yeah, you guys must definitely know with all your past clients, like training for a half Ironman is no easy feat. I'm training around 12 to 15 hours per week, and it's a lot of cardio. A lot of biking, swimming, running. In all of that, I have 1 hour of full body workout. That's the most I do in terms of just like muscle preservation. Am I wrong for doing something like that? Am I wrong for aiming to be like a functional athlete, still keeping, keeping like a good shape, but being able to be performing in those kind of events like a half Ironman? Do I need to have an in-season and off-season training? That's where I kind of have a lot of questioning. And I tried doing Mass 15. It worked out quite well for the first 4 weeks when I started training for my half Ironman, but at a certain point I was kind of running short of, just time to breathe. Yeah, and I have like more information on my nutrition if you guys need that.
Yeah, okay. Yes, you should have an in-season and off-season training always, especially if you're competing at that level. Half Ironmans are, it's a high level of performance. Look at it this way. If you look at your whole year, you should have a short in-season that is maybe 12 weeks, and then the rest should kind of be off-season feeling good. So it's like a sprint. Think of a run, right? You have short sprints, but long duration times of just kind of cruising. That's what your training should look like. If you're having fun and you feel good and your performance is improving, then you're doing a good job. And there's nothing with focusing more on endurance sometimes and other times focusing more on strength. The mistake that you'll make, that people often make like you, is they try to improve everything at the same time.
Converge everything together.
That's when you're going to be challenged. That's when you're going to run into problems. It's like, I want to add 30 pounds to my bench. I also want to improve my marathon time. I also want to get better at pull-ups. It's like if you can't do everything all at the same time. So make your goals more specific in the sense that right now it's Ironman training. If I'm improving in my performance for Ironman, then I'm moving in the right direction. Don't try to also build muscle at the same time, though. That'll spell
there's a big difference between a buff jack dude that can run a sub 8-minute mile and being an ultra marathon runner and OCR guy. I mean, they're very, very different goals. Like you could totally be a buff guy and run a sub 7-minute mile. You could absolutely do that. But it's the training for Ironman and ultra marathon running and that type of volume. You're trying to also lift a lot of weights. You're putting yourself at risk injury wise. I think the MAPS 15 protocol is probably the better protocol for you if you're going to be doing all that running. And that's probably going to preserve the most amount of muscle, but you're certainly not going to build during that process.
And if you try to, you'll run into problems.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've trained a few people that have done half Ironmans and full Ironmans, and the strength training leading up to the competition is so minimal. It's extremely minimal. Like probably 6 weeks out, we're doing correctional exercise and that's it. We're not doing a bunch of lifts. Before that, it's once a week, maybe 35 to 45 minutes of strength training, because the volume of training that you're putting on your body, any more than that, you start to see reductions in performance.
That's where, I mean, if you do have your off season where you could block that out and you could do, 1 to 3 months of just like solid focus on strength training, that's going to carry you as long as you do that 15 protocol, and the preservation of that for muscle is great. So that will carry you pretty far. But if you can actually carve that out specifically, so your body, it's going to adapt best to specificity. So if you can really isolate that and then maintain that, carrying you in and time it out. So now too, like those other focuses with endurance training, like leading up into the event, is going to be ideal.
Yeah, Kuvish, if for the rest of your life, if this is like the kind of stuff you enjoy, where you just like feeling like you could do a lot of things, which I could totally see. I could totally get why somebody would like that. Then the best approach, generally speaking, is to, like what Justin's saying, I'm going to train for strength. And then now I'm going to start working a little more on endurance. And so what happens, and now I'm working on a little bit mobility. And what happens is the other goals take a back seat. They become supportive role to improve the main goal, right? So if my goal is endurance, I'm going to use strength training to prevent injury. If I'm trying to train for strength, I'm going to use endurance training to improve my strength training, maybe improve my endurance for higher numbers of reps, that kind of thing. And you just move in and out. You move in and out of that kind of stuff. You don't stay anywhere for too long, and that'll give you that'll reduce the risk of overtraining, reduce the risk of injury, and give you a lot of all of it.
Do you take breaks on the running, or are you pretty much like year round doing runs every week?
I mean, the off season, pretty much my in season is pretty, because in Quebec, you can only go outside as of like mid-May up until like mid-October. So that's where I'll be like running way more outside. Between mid-October all the way to like the next year of mid-May, I still run a little bit to maintain that cardiovascular strength or like cardiovascular capacity that I built. So probably doing like 1 or 2 runs per week, but it's nothing like I'm not doing like 2 or 3 hours of running during that time. I'm just like doing at least like, 2 30-minute outings at most. But it kind of fits with what you guys said of like having that period to just build the strength that might support my body. For the in season.
I love that. If you're only doing, if you have what was that 5 6 months or so, I don't do the math. You got 5 6 months of only 2 30-minute runs a week. You could absolutely, that could be your muscle building time, and you're very focused on building muscle during that time. And that's where you're running a more traditional MAPS anabolic type program, or MAPS performance, which is probably going to be more supportive and conducive for what you're trying to do. I'd run that. And then when you get into in season, you're barely doing any strength training. It's more like a MAPS 15 protocol, or like a 1 day a week from MAPS performance, or even when you get closer and your running starts to scale, doing like mobility days from performance, like what Sal was talking about. So with a schedule like that, you could absolutely do it. Just don't do them both at the same time. That's where you get screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
I was kind of like thinking of, because currently I still have like MAPS 15. I've been using it. It's done its job quite well, but I haven't had the time or opportunity to look into what's the difference between MAPS 15 and MAPS 15 performance, because I think probably MAPS 15 performance might fit better my goals on the long term. Even if
I like MAPS 15 performance. I also like performance. So during the off season, you're running MAPS performance.
That's your strength training.
That's your strength training. And then what you could do is go down to 1 day a week when the running starts to pick up, when the season begins, and then eventually scale all the way down to just mobility days once you get really in the thick of running. And that would be perfect.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, because it kind of worked because that was the general idea I had in mind of how I should be splitting my in-season, off-season, and kind of like planning my goals around it. I just kind of like needed someone to just anchor that same point into my mind.
Yeah.
Have fun with all of it, and really be specific with your goal, and use the other stuff to support the specific goal, and go in and out of them. But have fun. So once it starts to feel like I'm fried, it's like it's taken away from the quality of my life. And I get that when you're in season and you're training really hard, but most of the time you shouldn't feel that way.
Sounds good.
You got it, man.
Right
Do you have 15 performance?
No, I don't have 15 performance.
All right, we'll send that to you.
Cheers.
You got it, man. Thank you.
Okay.
That's a good question. I think it's he's got the right idea. Big dude, what was he, 6'5"?
Yeah. 6'4".
6'4", 235, doing all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's great. I mean, ideally speaking, what the advice we're giving him would be the probably healthiest way for most people to train. It just doesn't work that way because we all have our favorites and schedule
we
and
always
stuff.
gravitate towards what we like to do the most.
You guys hit it. The number one mistake that guys like this do or girls is trying to do both.
Yeah, they want everything.
Yeah, at the same time, and then you get none of it because you're pushing the weights too much while simultaneously pushing the runs too much. And I like that. That's a good little season right there.
Yeah.
And when it's sunny outside and he can run outside, that's when he ramps up his ultra marathon running and his Ironman stuff, and that's great. And then he has a whole other 5-6 months where
hit the weights when it's cold. Man.
Yeah, I like that.
Our next caller is Kirsten from South Africa.
Hello, Kirsten.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you all?
Good.
We're good. How can we help you?
Good. Firstly, it's amazing to be on. I'm super excited to chat to you guys. So thank you so much. Please excuse me. It is 7:15 at night. So it's after dinner and shower time. So I'm in my PJs.
Yeah, no worries.
But I'm going to read my question nonetheless. I did write in about a month and a half ago. So just a couple of things have changed. So I will just update as I go. So basically, I'm in desperate need of some help and some direction. I've been listening to you guys for just over a year and finally decided to reach out for some guidance. I am 35, I'm 165 centimeters and weigh 59 kilos, which is about 130 pounds. I eat now 1,930 calories per day and get a minimum of about 150 to 160 grams of protein. I usually train, now 6 days a week, and it kind of separates by glutes and hams, back and bis, quads and calves, shoulders, and then another shoulders and triceps day because I'm really focusing on my arms as I'm quite not too bottom heavy, but I've got strong legs. I was a dancer. I get 10,000 steps in every day. I was cycling 20 minutes 3 times a week, but I've cut the cardio out completely as I'm currently healing from a meniscus tear. I've been weight training for about 3 years and I know my way around the gym, but I don't look like I train. I struggle with this layer of body fat that I just can't seem to get rid of. I have 2 injuries that are limiting me, with a TFCC reconstruction in my right wrist that was repaired in July last year. And I'm currently healing from a meniscus tear and cartilage debridement in my left knee, which I'm now currently going for the blood plasma injections to help speed up recovery. I've been advised against deep squats and forward lunges going forward, as this is my second knee surgery in 10 years. I'm at a complete loss right now, and I'm struggling to navigate my training around these injuries. I'm putting in all the hard work and battling to see the results. I want to look fit, I want to be lean, and I want to have my body to have some shape, but I'm just not sure which direction to go in, and that's why I'm reaching out to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I have the answer. It's gonna be tough though. But let me ask you more questions. Tell me about your lifestyle. You married,
and
kids.
What's changed?
What's your job like?
So I'm married. I don't have kids. I've got 2 golden retrievers that keep me busy. I work for quite a large fashion brand, which I've actually just changed roles. I've got a promotion, so looking after 7 countries. So it is quite stressful, but it's great and I love it. So it is a bit of a desk job, but hybrid working. So I do try and move as much as I can. I do have a walking pad at home, so that comes in super useful. And I'm pretty much a bit of an energizer bunny. I can't really sit still for too long. So I honestly try and get out as much as I can. I love being in the gym. It's really my safe space because I used to run. I can't do that now with my knees. So the gym's really become like a haven for me where friends are, and you know, my husband also trains with me, so it's really just my own space that it's the time where I can switch off and just allow it to be my own. So yeah, that's really me.
Yeah.
Already know enough.
Yeah, we've trained a lot of people like you. So I can give you, do you really
The
want?
answer is simple. It's difficult for you to do.
Yeah. Do you really want to see incredible results?
I really do. That's why I'm calling.
Okay, what I'm going to tell you to do is going to be really hard, but it's going to work. So
You're going to tell me to do maths 15.
I'm going to tell you to work out way less and eat more.
Way less.
Yeah, hey, that 100%. And look, here's background of a dancer. So you just know how to overtrain. That's what dancers do. High performing job. I don't like to sit still. I've got all these injuries that have been happening. I'm strength training 5 days a week. I could tell you how many steps I take a day. I put a walking pad so I can
screaming at you.
always move. You're like overtrained and underfed, and you've probably been that way for a long time, which is probably why you're suffering from those injuries.
For sure.
Yeah.
I knew that before you told us what you did for work, and then the type of personality you have, and then when you do that, it just tipped it over as for sure.
Yeah.
It was probably looking like that before that advice. You just confirmed it for sure. If you're the person who can't sit still and you admit that you have a high stress job, it's everything we've listed it's all stress. And you're also low calorie, especially for that much activity and movement and that high of a stress job. So in the context of low calorie and all those things, you're just overstressed, and your body's trying to tell you. It's obviously screaming at you for the last 10 years. It's too much, enough to where you've got an injury twice, forcing you to slow down. And so, the advice looks like MAPS 15 and more food, or MAPS anabolic 1 day or 2 day a week and more food.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like.
I think your best bet, and I'll tell you what to experience, just so or what you're going to experience, just so you can, as it happens, if you take our advice, you're like, okay, he told me this would happen. I'd like to see you bump your calories 200 calories. I'd like to see you follow MAPS 15 as it's laid out, no modifications, don't add exercises, don't add
cardio.
Don't try to make up for it by beating the crap out of yourself with the exercises that are listed. Do it as it's laid out. Continue to monitor your steps. And what you'll feel, first off, is an increase in energy. You'll get better sleep. Libido will improve. You're going to get more mental sharpness. Stronger. And then you're going to, and stronger, you're going to see strength gains. And then you're going to be very tempted to push it. And then you're going to say, all right, let's go. But don't do it. So, and you need to stay here probably for 3 months minimum. Okay, minimum. And you're gonna see some benefits. And don't weigh yourself. That's going to mess with your head really bad. So throw your scale away. And just focus on your strength in the gym. Now, if you have extra time on your hands, which you will because you're spending so much time working out, then do something else that doesn't involve working out. You could walk more, you could read, stretch, but nothing that's a workout. And this is going to change your body. This will change your body, but it's really, most importantly, it's going to change the relationship you have with fitness. It's going to break those chains that are keeping you kind of where you're at with this relationship with workouts.
Yeah, I feel it's super difficult because that the gym has really become such a haven for me and like an outlet, because I don't really drink alcohol, I don't really do anything else, so that's my outlet, which is, I think it's really like got such a hold over me. And I was even worse training. I was training 6-7 days a week. I was adding an extra cardio on top of it. And I've actually kind of already scaled back. My calories were super low. And then I actually got an online coach, and he bumped my calories up to 19. And shocker, my waist started coming down. But that was it. Nothing really else is budging. My waist has come down about 3 centimeters in 5 weeks. And I'm eating more. I'm struggling a bit. He's asked to increase my fats as well because my fats were super, super low.
What was your fat at?
Oh, yeah.
So my fat intake used to be about 30 grams per day. It's now at about 60, between 60 and 70.
Still too low. Do you have a regular cycle? Do you have a regular period?
No, so I've recently gone off the oral contraceptive. So October last year, and I've only had one cycle since then.
Kristen, you are terribly overtrained, right? So, and you're functioning because you're so disciplined, and you've got this attitude that I can make it happen. It's interesting what you're saying about your workout, how it's a safe haven. Like this, these are what happens when we have a bad relationship with something. Is we can very easily justify it, and this is what encourages or maintains the bad relationship. So what you're going to have to do with this is stop weighing and stop measuring yourself. The only thing you can track is your strength, because strength moving up in your case is going to be a very positive sign. Go up to 2,000 calories a day and follow Mass 15 and just do that. Just do that. And then what we're going to do, Kirsten, is I'm going to have you back on the show in 3 months after the program is up so you can check in with us. And part of the reason why I'm doing that is to give you some accountability, because if you come back on in 3 months and you tell me that you modified it, I'm going to be very upset with you. So you're going to come back on. We're going to talk all about it. And what I'm going to hear from you is like, oh my God, everything's so much better. I feel so much better. I feel so much stronger. I got my period. I'm sleeping better. Like, this is so incredible. I didn't believe it. I can't believe what's happening. That's what we're going to hear if you follow our advice. But it's very clear what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's very, very simple, yet very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So the advice is very simple, okay? I feel like to ask somebody to do less is normally a simple ask, right? Because we're not asking you to go do more, do less, but very hard for somebody like you to do. So, I'm with Sal. I like the idea of letting you know that we're going to put you back on the show in 3 months for a bit of accountability to listen to us. But yeah, I
need that.
It's solvable. This is solvable. And we can get there, and you're heading the right direction, so that's very good. So you're moving in the right direction. You just got to move a lot more in that direction.
Are you still working with the coach, the online coach?
I am, yes. And his training is intense. It's 6 days a week. I'm spending minimum an hour and 15, hour and a half in the gym.
I'd love to have one of my trainers call you.
Yeah, that's way too much.
I'd love to have one of my trainers call you. That works for us.
I got to tell you too that the energy that you feel where you're like, I can't sit down. That's called nervous energy. That's cortisol energy. So your cortisol levels are probably elevated all the time. Now, what'll follow if you continue down this path is a crash in cortisol and extreme fatigue.
Or more injuries.
And injuries and all that stuff, right? But what you're feeling is this nervous, like, I can't sit still, type of deal.
It's exactly that.
That's right. Yeah. That's just, you've got cortisol and you've got all the stress hormones keeping you going right now because your body's so overstressed. But if you take our advice, it's going to be life-changing. It's going to be life-changing for so many different reasons, but especially the one that you're valuing, which is will my body change? Definitely, absolutely.
Okay, because I can't sit still for 2 seconds. We get into bed at night to watch a movie, and I'm on my phone and I'm checking this, and I'm up and I'm down. I really, really struggle to switch off and to relax. So, I had a feeling this is where you guys were gonna send me, but I need the accountability. So I really do appreciate that.
Good. We'll have you back on. We're gonna have you back on, and we'll follow up with you. And I can't wait to see just how much you enjoy the progress.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much.
You got it. And we'll send you Mass 15 if you don't got it.
Fantastic. I don't have it. No, okay. I don't.
All right. Thanks for calling in.
So that would be really great.
You got it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Right,
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Keep well. Bye.
It's interesting. It's funny is that people listening, like we've trained so many. It's like an avatar. She's like the exact avatar.
Sure. Before I knew where you were.
I would have kept going. With that.
No, I'm glad you asked because I was like, I already know who she is.
Yeah.
But let's hear her confirm it. And then it was like, oh yeah, this is. Yeah. And then as she continues to talk, it's just more and more, and you're just like
piled. All of them
up. And by the way, 2,000 calories is just where she's like the next jump. I'd like to see her at the end of 3 months up to
25,
like 24,
26.
25.
Yeah, 25, 26. 100%.
And she's just going to feel so different. Yep. Hormones will get more balanced.
Each step she takes in that direction.
And she's young enough where she should respond really well.
Imagine this. I mean, this is so common that people get here. And how frustrating this is to be putting in this much work and restricting this many calories, and then to say things like, "I just want to feel like I work out."
And also, again,
like that is crazy.
Hitting your head on the wall.
And just to give people a little bit of a different example so they understand. Imagine talking to a friend who has an abusive spouse, and they're talking about the abuse, and then they follow it up with, we're together, and they show up, and sometimes they're nice. And you're like, listen, that's what she's saying. Let's work out.
Yes,
I'm putting all this work in. I'm getting no results. I'm injuring myself. but it's my safe haven. Like that is a unhealthy relationship.
He's beating you. Get out.
Yep.
That's just it. It is, and you keep coming back, and you got it. And at least she's moving in the right direction.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
She's moving in the right direction. It's just that's the next hard thing is that someone like this feels like, okay, I did this. Now can I start doing more?
Yeah, no.
Now can I start it's like, no, we have a long ways to go still.
That's right. All right. I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. So let's say you decide to do 100 squats every single day. What happens to your body? Some pretty cool stuff.
Ooh,
Let's talk about this.
You get stronger.
If somebody, thanks. You give away the first one for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of people, it sounds obvious, but then you have a lot of people like, oh, you can't do that every day type of deal. You have to do them the right way, right? I think 100 squats all at once is probably not a good idea, but spread out throughout the entire day, you for sure will get stronger.
Well, you can easily overtrain if